Welcome to Capital Catch-up, your deep dive into the latest activities from the halls of Congress. I am Victor.
And I am Leanie. Today, we are unpacking a wide range of legislative proposals, judicial and executive nominations, and key debates from the congressional record. Let us start with a major piece of sports legislation, Senate Bill 4668, also known as the Protect College Sports Act of 2026.
This bill targets the rapidly changing world of college athletics, specifically focusing on name, image, and likeness, or NIL rights. It proposes a national framework to standardize these regulations. For student athletes, this is huge. It mandates disclosure requirements for any NIL agreements over $600 and establishes an Office of the Student Athlete Ombudsman to oversee compliance.
It also addresses academic protections, wellness standards, transfer rules, and media rights, even proposing a commission on the future of college athletics. The goal here is to bring stability and fair competition to college sports, which have seen a lot of rapid changes lately.
Moving from sports to small businesses, we have two significant measures. First is House Resolution 915, the Small Business Technological Advancement Act. This bill would allow the Small Business Administration to provide loans under Section 7A of the Small Business Act, specifically for modern software and cloud computing.
That is right. It covers operational tools like payroll, human resources, accounting, and artificial intelligence. Crucially, the bill specifies these loans are for operational integration, not research and development, helping small businesses stay competitive in the digital age.
To protect the integrity of these loans, there is also House Resolution 7401, the Small Business Lending Fraud Prevention Act. This bill requires Small Business Administration employees involved in loan origination or approval to sign a written certification that they have no prohibited conflicts of interest. They must commit to immediate disclosure and recusal if a conflict arises, and the administration must set up these rules within 180 days.
This is a clear effort to prevent fraud and ensure impartial decision-making, which directly impacts taxpayers and legitimate business owners seeking federal help.
Now, let us talk about a bill aimed at supporting military families. House Resolution 9489, the Grace for Military Survivors Act, proposes a change to the Internal Revenue Code. Currently, families of deceased service members have 1 year to contribute military death gratuity payments into Roth IRAs and Coverdell Education Savings Accounts. This bill extends that window to 3 years.
That extra time is incredibly important. When a family is grieving the loss of a loved one, managing complex financial decisions within a single year can be overwhelming. Tripling that time frame gives them much-needed breathing room to secure long-term savings and education funds. This bill has been referred to the Committee on Ways and Means.
We also have House Resolution 9457, the Diversity Visa Protection and Modernization Act. This bill limits the executive branch's power to implement broad, indefinite suspensions of the Diversity Immigrant Visa Program. While the administration can still apply targeted, country-specific restrictions for national security, they cannot halt the entire program without explicit approval from Congress.
Yes, and any limited temporary suspensions are capped at 60 days and require formal notification to Congress and public disclosure in the Federal Register. It is all about maintaining congressional oversight and protecting the rights of visa selectees from administrative overreach.
Speaking of the balance of power, there are two fascinating constitutional amendment proposals. First, House Joint Resolution 198, introduced by Representative Self, proposes to repeal the 17th Amendment.
That is a major historical shift. For our listeners who might not recall, the 17th Amendment, ratified in 1913, established the direct popular election of United States senators. Before that, state legislatures chose senators. This resolution wants to revert to that original constitutional process, shifting power back to state governments. It is currently with the House Committee on the Judiciary.
The second proposal is House Joint Resolution 122, which addresses campaign finance. It would grant Congress and individual states the authority to regulate political contributions and expenditures, set limits on election spending, and establish public campaign financing. Significantly, it distinguishes between natural persons and artificial entities like corporations, which could lead to restrictions on corporate political spending, while still protecting freedom of the press.
That would represent a massive reform in how political campaigns are funded, aiming to reduce the influence of large-scale financial contributions on the democratic process.
Now, on to a very serious administrative action. House Resolution 1391 formally initiates impeachment proceedings against the Secretary of Education, Linda M. McMahon, charging her with high crimes and misdemeanors.
The resolution outlines three main articles. First, a willful refusal to comply with the Department of Education Organization Act by unilaterally transferring departmental functions to other agencies. Second, providing false and misleading testimony to the Senate about her commitment to disbursing congressionally appropriated funds. And third, a breach of public trust by terminating approximately half of the department's workforce, which led to major delays in educational services and grants.
This highlights a severe conflict between Congress and the executive branch over her stated intent to dismantle the Department of Education without congressional authorization. Proponents argue her actions are an unconstitutional obstruction of statutory oversight.
On a different note, we have House Resolution 1392, which supports designating a National Learn to Swim Week starting on the fourth Sunday in June. Drowning is a leading cause of accidental death, especially for young children. But the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention notes that formal lessons can reduce drowning risks by 88%. The resolution aims to address disparities in swimming proficiency and expand access to instruction.
We also have House Resolution 6507, the DHS Grants Accountability Act. This bill reforms Department of Homeland Security grant programs for preparedness, transit, and port security. It mandates stricter congressional oversight, a 60-day deadline to release funding opportunities after appropriations, a minimum 30-day window for applications, and extends the performance period for grant funds to at least 54 months.
There is also House Resolution 9486, which amends the Employee Retirement Income Security Act of 1974 to increase transparency of group health plan data and prevent discrimination.
And House Resolution 9131, the Protecting Kids from Creeps Act. This bill prohibits surrogacy agencies from knowingly or recklessly facilitating surrogacy contracts involving registered sex offenders. Violators face severe criminal penalties, including mandatory minimum prison sentences of 10 to 20 years, revocation of tax-exempt status, and loss of federal funding.
In foreign policy, we have House Resolution 5543, the Baltic Security Assessment Act of 2025. This bipartisan bill strengthens partnerships with Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania against aggression from the Russian Federation and economic pressure from the People's Republic of China. It requires the Secretary of State and Secretary of Defense to submit a report within 180 days detailing military, cyber, and political threats to the region.
Finally, on the legislative front, House Resolution 1286 calls for a new United States trade policy that prioritizes workers, small businesses, independent farmers, and the environment over corporate profits. It advocates for binding labor and environmental standards, stronger Buy America requirements, and penalties for companies that move production overseas.
Let us quickly touch on some administrative and nomination updates. House Resolution 1381 formally appointed Representative Gallagher to 3 standing committees: Foreign Affairs, Science, Space and Technology, and Transportation and Infrastructure.
And there is a long list of executive and judicial nominations. Edward Epler has been nominated to be Chief Financial Officer of the Department of Transportation. Kevin Lilly is nominated as Assistant Secretary for Fish and Wildlife. Karen Sessions is nominated to be a Commissioner of the Consumer Product Safety Commission for a 7-year term. Thomas B. Chapman is up for reappointment to the National Transportation Safety Board, and Corrine Jean Headland is up for reappointment to the Surface Transportation Board. Mark Cruz has been nominated as Director of the Indian Health Service.
On the judicial side, we have Michael J. Hendershot for United States District Judge for the Northern District of Ohio. Matthew A. Schwartz is nominated to be United States Circuit Judge for the 2nd Circuit, and Daniel Desmond Domenico is nominated for the 10th Circuit. Arthur Roberts Jones and John George Edward Mark are both nominated to be United States District Judges for the Southern District of Texas. There are also several other nominations submitted without public descriptions, specifically nomination numbers 929, 791-1, 845, and 1077.
To wrap things up, let us look at the congressional record from June 23, 2026. The session featured bipartisan bills targeting surveillance pricing by businesses, establishing energy and water transparency standards for data centers, and promoting firearm safety.
There was also a heated debate on healthcare, with members criticizing large health insurance conglomerates for prioritizing stock buybacks and profits over patient care, leading to calls to dismantle insurance monopolies.
The House also paid tribute to retiring suicide prevention advocate Robert Gebbia, the late public servant Pat Riley, and celebrated the athletic achievements of the University of Arkansas men's track and field team.
Looking ahead, listeners should watch out for the progress of the impeachment proceedings against Secretary McMahon, the developments on the proposed campaign finance and Senate election constitutional amendments, and whether the small business and military survivor bills gain momentum in their respective committees.
That is all for today's Capital Catch-Up. Thank you for listening, and we will see you next time.